Welcome to Life Workshop, where we discuss the forgotten basics. This is your most favorite host, Mohammed Nazari. You can call me Mo. And I have with me the most favorite co-host, Beau. We can call him Beau. Okay, Beau, let's start with you. First of all, can you just give us a brief, detailed explanation who you are?
Well, obviously, my name's Beau. I grew up in Saskatoon, and I moved to Regina like 20 years ago. Now I'm a journeyman plumber, and I'm a small business owner. And more importantly, I think I'm just a curious person in general.
Okay. For those people that they may not know where Regina or Saskatoon is the center of Earth, and Saskatoon is a bit close to the center of the Earth. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and measure it. That's true. You can even Google it. And my name is Mohammed Nazari, as I said, and I go by Mo, and I'm originally from Iran, born and raised there. And then I left Iran when I was 25. And then I was in Dubai for 4 years, and then I came to Canada in 97, which was one of the best things that I ever did. And of course, after that, I ended up, shortly within a few months, I ended up in Regina, which was a mistake. But but life goes on. But anyway, and I have been here for quite some time, and I love it. As I explained earlier, we are going to be talking about the forgotten basics, basically very simple stuff. And as you can see, Beau is a plumber, basically, and I'm a physio, and none of us is psychologists, sociologists, or something like that. And because of that, we are not going to be talking, or we are not going to act like, professionals, that we are going to be saying stuff that we have done lots of studies on, but we have lived our lives.
And part of this is like you've had a show before that you did on like the public access channel. So you should probably talk a little about that, because that kind of gives you a little more experience in this whole thing.
Correct. I have been interested in this kind of topics, and especially because of my background party, that I went through a lot of changes. So I was really interested to be in control of my feelings and my life in general. I didn't go with the flow, because sometimes the flow was not the way that I wanted to go. So anyway, that made me to become more of a, interest in this stuff. So I have done a TED talk on identity, that is identity created or inherited, as well as, yes, I did a TV program in here called Curious Mind. And the tagline was that I loved it. Tagline was, "Welcome to Curious Minds, where comments are not welcome. Questions are." So I did that for some time, and then this has been one of the passions that I have had for the longest time, to come and have a podcast, of this type, and now is the time.
And then when you talk about, I've been curious, why I'm here, and then when you talk about these forgotten basics, what the hell are you talking about? Forgotten basics, what does that even mean?
Yeah, this is the thing, how do I qualify, or do we qualify to come and talk about this thing? The forgotten basics are the things that basically when we talk about, probably we all know about them, or it's very easy to understand. It's just as simply, or we have forgotten them, or we just haven't given it a lots of thoughts. Very simple principles.
When people say that, you hear that in sports all the time, right? We gotta go back to basics, go back to basics, back to basics. Well, I've always wondered, what does that even imply? What does that even mean? Of course, we know how to catch a ball. Well, let's not. So when you're saying go back to these basics, is there something more,
Yeah. Actually, this is the thing. I'm going to just explain some of the principles that I use, that you will hear me using them over and over and over.
Okay.
That they are the thing that brings us back to those to the basics that I'm talking.
So these are the building blocks of...
Correct. The principles that I use for any way of problem solving.
Oh, okay.
Which, for example, in here, I would say the things that I'm going to be talking is a rule of 20-80. I don't know if you have heard of that.
I've talked to my apprentices about that. Yes.
Yeah. The rule of 20-80 is you put 20% of the effort, you get 80% of the result.
Mm-hmm.
For example, 20% of your friends are going to give you 80% of the joy in your life. And the same is true that 20% of the people that you know give you most 80% of the headaches.
Yeah.
If you want to get, for example, fit, if you put 20% of the effort, you get 80% of the result of the exercise. But in order to get really good, then you have to put 80% of the effort to get the other 20% of the improvement. So this rule of 20-80 is that if you want to become a cook, you want to cook, okay, you can put 20% of the effort and to become a good cook. But if you want to become an excellent cook, you have to put 80% of the effort. So this rule of 80-20 exists. And this is one of the rules that I will use for this back to basics, forgotten basics. We will talk about this. Another principle that I use is we use rules, not exception to the rules. So what does that mean? We know that, for example, if you buy a lottery ticket, you can win the jackpot. Mm-hmm. There are people that they have spent $2 investment for a ticket and they won the jackpot. Yeah. But can you imagine your financial advisor says that, come and just invest your money in buying lottery tickets. So yes, we have rules versus exception to the rules. So some of the things that I'm going to say, they are considered to be rules and most of the time are true. But I know that you can find times that it doesn't apply. So the reason I'm bringing this up here right now is because sometimes people, they come, but you know what, my buddy did this, which was against your rule and it worked. Yes, I know sometimes things happen that it works, but we are talking as a general rule. I want to just explain maybe this one.
Well, isn't that just they say this all the time, the exception proves the rule? That's just what you're talking about, right?
So what's that, exceptions?
The exception proves the rule.
What does that mean exactly?
That means that because there are exceptions, that actually means that the rules actually work because there's always outliers happening.
Oh, I see. Now I want actually to give this example. I had this lady that I knew that she said that she was asking her son to wear the seatbelt when driving. They were living on a farm and he's living once, he's driving the truck on the grid road and then loses control and rolls. But the son doesn't wear the seatbelt, so rolls and then...
You rolled a grain truck?
No, not the grain truck. On the grid road it was. No, it's a truck, I suppose.
Oh, okay.
And then anyway, when he rolls the truck, hit the ditch, and then because he doesn't have the seatbelt on, he manages to get out of the truck quick enough because the truck catches on fire, and then afterwards, I believe, explodes or something.
What?
Yeah.
This is real. This is really real life.
I believe so. Yeah, that is what she told me.
Okay.
And she said that now she tells her son to wear the seatbelt. Well, that is true. At times it happens that seatbelt kills you. We know that.
Yeah.
But most of the time saves you.
Yeah.
So we have rules and exception to the rules. So when I say that there are some of the things that I'm going to be using in this forgotten basics, I'm going to be talking about the rules. Okay. Not exception to the rules.
All right. Okay. Got it.
Another thing, for example, that I think we all know, a chain is as strong as its weakest link. Mm-hmm. And very frequently, we forget that one. And we go work on our strong links. What do I mean by that? For example, somebody is not that happy. And then, let's say they have, marital problem or relationship problems. But what they do, they don't address the relationship. They go address, I'm going to work harder. I'm going to make more money. I'm going to get fitter. I'm going to look better. Maybe that's going to help the relationship.
Well, I don't want to think about that.
You're already there.
Okay.
I have seen him with shirt off. So
what other topics are we going to talk about?
Actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to throw a few other principles that I have.
All right.
Don't push me here.
Okay.
So when it comes to this, again, a chain, is as strong as its weakest link. Basically, the idea is that if we focus on the weakest link, that's what the weakest link is, and find it and tackle that one instead of going, fixing other things that really is not going to make your chain that stronger. Another one is that I would say normally go for the low-hanging fruit. This is another principle. So again, I'll go back. These are all the principles that I'm going to be following for forgotten basics. I think we all agree on this thing. Low-hanging fruit is basically if you want to tackle a few things, do the ones that is the easiest and quickest first, before trying to go do the more complicated one.
Oh, okay. That's the same thing then, like what Jordan Peterson talks about, right? Like when he says like make your bed, right? And clean room, and just do the little things, and then it shows that you can succeed at some of these things, so then you can tackle larger things.
That is correct. So basically you go do something easier first, and then that is easy to do and you can achieve better, then you go to the next one. Basically you just one step at a time. That said, I never make my bed.
Okay, I don't think that's just an example.
Another one is no Hollywood in this story. No Hollywood. When I say no Hollywood, we don't sensationalize things. So back to basics, forgotten basics, again, is this. Very frequently, it happens that, for example, we dramatize the situation, and then we want to conclude over that. I'm going to tell this story very quickly. I'm not going to go into details because in case that the friends that they did this, they hear it, I don't want them. Anyway, there was one incident that happened in here some time ago that these friends, they are fooling around, and then one of them backs up the truck, and then the other one, who is one of his best friends, is trying to jump into the truck but misses and falls, and the truck rolls over him and killed him.
Wait, what?
Yes, this happened. I'm going to tell you where it was, but I'm not going to say it on this podcast. Where. But anyway, so this happened. And one of the friends who knew the victim, because the young man who was the truck driver, he was obviously very upset. It is his buddy that has been killed. And then he was even on suicide watch for some time. Yeah. But then after a few months, his family goes traveling, so they take him with them. And it was a traveling that they would do on a regular basis. And
so the guy's family, so the guy who killed the guy,
correct,
the guy who died's family went on the trip?
No. The young man who was the truck driver, he was on suicide watch for some time. Yeah. But then his family, they take him because he's a young man. They take him on a holiday. Okay. And then I had this friend of mine who was close to the victim's family. So she said this. She said, "Oh, he's gone on a holiday and he's enjoying himself. And it's not fair." Then I said, "So let's just go one step at a time. Do you really believe he's on a holiday right now and enjoying it? And he's thinking, oh, I killed my buddy. Oh, I killed my buddy. Is he really thinking that?" "Well, no." I said, "So do you think he's just, okay, you know what? I killed my buddy. Now it's time to move on." "Well, most likely not." I said, "Do you think maybe his family took him on a holiday because the guy was on suicide watch? He killed his friend. He's going through a hard time the same way that you are. And the family wanted to give him a bit of a break. What would you do if he was your own son? Yeah. Would you let him suffer? Would you beat him to death? What would you do?" It was a mistake. It happened. So no Hollywood, I mean that. This friend of mine, she sensationalized this and making herself more of a victim and hurting that, oh, that boy, the truck driver who killed, this young man, now he's enjoying it. No, he's not enjoying it. He's suffering. So we want to be very realistic. So back to basic, this forgotten basics that I'm talking about, that we will not sensationalize things. We will not take it out of proportion, which often we do to make a point and to get the result that we want to. And that's not really the best. If we just keep it toned down, we would be just fine. Another principle that I will be using, normally I say 1 bad exceeds 9 or 10 good. We know that. For example, they say 1 bad advertisement, is goes a longer way than 9. Good
You always
advertisement.
think about the bad things before the good
Correct.
things. Yeah.
So what does that mean? How do we apply it in a normal life? Well, if, for example, you're not happy, instead of thinking about how to make yourself happier, maybe first think about what makes you unhappy and tackle that one first.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to become richer, you have more money, instead of thinking first about, how I'm going to make more money, think about how I can decrease my expenses without changing my lifestyle. So if you remove the one bad first before improving on the good.
Mm-hmm.
So this is another rule that, I'm going to be using quite a bit. Another one is address the main issue first. What does that mean? For example, I'm a physiotherapist. If somebody comes to me with severe pain and, lots of, other issues that are related to that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take care of the main issue first. I'm not going to think about, you have this. Or if you go to hospital, it's the same thing. That they will not, for example, if you go with a broken bone and you're severely swollen, or, for example, you have an open cut, they are not going to just do the surgery right away. They are going to wait for the swelling to go down. They are going to make sure that the infection is under control. Then they do that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of time, if you address the main issue, a lot of other issues dissolve. Of course, maybe not in this case of the broken bone, but in real life, for example, you see, what, I have a bad day. And maybe if I do this, it becomes a good day. But you want to think about that. What is it that is the bad day? And then if you really go after the very main issue, then you will see that, no, actually, day was not that bad to begin with. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest thing, which is my expression, and I'm going to hold that credit for myself.
Okay.
I normally say, don't make a mess. You don't have to clean it up.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you can say, that's the same prevention. Yes, prevention is boring. The way I say this sounds sexy. And what does that mean? Don't cause a fight. You don't have to come to peace. Don't spend it. Then you don't have to make it. Don't break it. Then you don't have to fix it.
So don't create problems that you have to fix.
Correct. So basically, these are
prevention.
Yeah, this.
Yeah,
I know. But no, my way is better. Don't make a mess.
Okay.
You don't have to clean it up. So I use this principle that I said, and in general, I normally say this: life is simple. We make it complicated. So I would like to take it back to that simple part. Sorry, you were asking that question. I interrupted you. What was your next question?
I just wanted to know, because I didn't want to talk about that one thing because it hits too close to home. But so I wanted to change the subject. What other topics are you going to talk about? Like what? Mm-hmm. Like, let's hear a scope of things that you're going to.
I said explain. It is. Yeah, we call this life workshop because really we are going to discuss anything and everything that happens in life. For example, happiness and anxiety, depression. We use the same rules that I said. First prevent. No. Don't make a mess. You don't have to clean it up. For example, see what makes you unhappy, what causes anxiety, what causes depression. First tackle that, then afterwards worry about how to get, your happiness higher or anxiety or depression lower. First that way. Other topics that I'm going to be using, how to use a can opener.
Huh?
I know. No, there is a story behind this. Okay. You should listen to the podcast. I'm
going to listen to that one for sure.
Yeah. Or other topics that I'm going to be talking, like climate change, money, minimalism, or would you trim my back? I'm a bit hairy. I have an 8-pack, but I'm a bit hairy. Yeah. Now I cannot trim my... Okay. And this is exactly it. I'm going to bring it up and we are going to talk about it, that why you better do it is good for you. And I'm doing you a favor by letting you trim my back. We will get there. Just keep listening and watching.
I'm just going to listen to that one too.
Another thing that I would, some other topics would be, do you have the right to have children? Or just generally, why do you want to have children?
Okay.
The other one is relationship. And when I say relationship, I mean...
Well, that's pretty wide.
Correct. The relationship would be with friends or with work, at work with colleagues and those kind of things, as well as, if you have some intimate relationship. If I talk about that one, don't follow what I'm saying. I'm not the best. I need some help myself.
So within these topics, you're going to address them in the framework of your 80-20 rule, the no Hollywood, and the don't create problems.
Correct. But I will normally be using those principles, and you will see that it's a very simplistic thing. In honest, it's such a simple way, as we go through them. But normally, based on the topic, the subject, those things will be used. But other, for example, topics that I would like to talk is supremacy, religion. So I would like to talk about those things. Or another thing would be bidet versus toilet paper.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And then some other topics would be victim personality or self forgiveness. Mm-hmm. And another interesting one would be how to charge your bank for wasting your time.
Oh, that is a good one.
I have done that.
I know you did. I was fascinated by that whole story.
Yeah. And then some other things would be, for example, wine glass, the dumbest invention. Or like a box spring for the bed. I don't even know what the purpose is.
Huh. You might have an expert on for that.
Yeah. But anyways, there are some of the topics that, I will be talking about.
Okay.
So, some other thing, how am I going to achieve this podcast? Actually, I thought you had a question you had written down that you wanted to ask.
No, not yet.
No. Okay. But how am I going to achieve, this kind of things? With this podcast, really, I would like to create a platform that we help each other to, mature the subject. So it's not really a podcast about me. I'm hoping, and I'm not saying necessarily everything that I say is right, which actually is. I'm just trying to be humble.
Okay.
But I'm trying to just create a bit of a curiosity and a discussion, over subjects. So as a listener, if you're listening or watching this on YouTube, I would really appreciate it if you could add to the subject. The idea is not to banter at each other or put each other down. That's not the idea. Mm-hmm. But the idea is if you can mature the subject. Regardless of, and I'm not looking for agreement by any means, but I'm looking for, making subject a bit better.
Okay.
For example,
so you're just talking about the topics. You're going to use your 3 building block rules and go through it, and then you're wanting to ask, say, the
audience,
about these things so they can chime in. Or
correct. The idea is I don't want this to really become.
You can open up your own view as well. Maybe that was the wrong way of saying
No. Basically, that I just bring up some of the subjects that normally we don't think about it as much.
Okay,
but just to poke you, your mind and brain.
So then the audience, what are they trying to get out of it? Are they trying to be part of the conversation, or are you trying to steer people, like people who are having problems? Are you trying to steer them a certain way, or what are we doing here?
The idea is, as I said, to just poke your brain, for some of the things that you never think about, that sometimes you do. For example, that wine glass. Why do we need a wine glass that's so thin that can break? And then when you're drinking and you're drunk and you're more likely to break it,
Well, that's why you use a solo cup.
That is the thing. But, we are following, we are living a life. Sometimes we are not questioning it as much. Mm-hmm. And we fall into the trap of our traditions and culture and the things that we learn from our family or in the environment.
But we don't taking things for granted.
That's exactly it.
Okay.
So, but by questioning it, that why, for example, and then I know that as audience, people, they can really add value. I know that. For example, I'm going to throw this as for the sake of example. Mm-hmm. Once I was with these 4 young men, and then one of them said, everything in moderation. Mm-hmm. I said, no, moderation is for good stuff, not bad stuff. We don't have child abuse in moderation, or bullying in moderation, or smoking in moderation. We don't have those things. But we have moderation for exercise, for salad, salad is good, but you don't want to go eat salad. You exercise is good, but you want to go, and do exercise all the time. Work is good, but you don't want to keep working forever. So moderation is for good stuff, not for bad stuff. Then his friend turned around and said, "Hey, Mike, can I punch you in the face in moderation?"
Yeah.
So it was a very, very nice twist to make a point. So I'm hoping as an audience, if you can come up with something, just to share it with us, and hopefully somehow we will be using it, But as I said, the main thing is just to create a platform that, we can come and mature a subject. And by maturing it, again, I'm repeating, I'm not looking for agreement. I'm thinking about maturing a subject. I'm just the one who just starts it, and hopefully we'll create this platform to just work on it. Okay. And make fun out of it, to make the process of change fun. This is another thing that I really like to do with this podcast is, myself, I listen to podcasts and documentaries and, TED Talks and that stuff. I'm very much interested. But one thing that sometimes I feel that is lacking is that, they teach, but they don't poke you into changing it. And there are ways. I've heard this somewhere that people are not scared of change, or they don't resist change. They resist being changed, which made a lot of sense. Yeah. And now a lot of time you see people that they know, but they don't do. So they watch, they listen to a lot of podcasts, or, a lot of experts that they have a lot of good, information out there. But did you do anything? No. They don't take it to that next level. So I'm hoping with this podcast, which you will see how I'm going to do it, to start that, initiate that, and to make it the process a little bit more fun.
Okay.
And normally I say the process is learn and learn the bad habit. So you learn, if you have had a habit of doing something, you learn the better way, you unlearn the bad way that you had, you put it away, and then you change. How can we make this process?
That's hard.
Actually,
to even identify your bad habits sometimes really hard.
Actually, very easily we do. We can find them, and it's not to shame ourselves. Normally, say if your mama told you you're perfect, your mama lied to you.
Wait, what?
So yeah, don't think that we are all going to have faults, and that's absolutely fine. The part that is not fine is we don't correct them, and we can change them. And to be honest, it's a fun process. It's not scary. So that is what I'm basically hoping for. And but one more thing that I would like to say is, with this process, really, I believe as a listener, if you listen to this podcast for some time, and go with the question that I'm asking, again, I'm not looking for agreement, just I'm poking your brain to think about some stuff, then your life will get better. That one I can say almost for sure. I mean, I have done it personally, and it has worked really for me. Personally, very quickly, if I want to say, when I was in Iran, of course, I never suffered from depression, but because I really had no hope, honestly, I had no hope. Because before revolution in Iran, we were very rich and wealthy. We had everything and the freedom. But then after the revolution, everything went down south. And by that, I'm not talking Mexico. I'm talking really terrible. And then we became more restricted. I had no hope for the life to get better after that. And because of that, actually, I became suicidal for a few years. I was just suicidal. We lost quite a few young men in our family, some to war. One was executed by the government because he was anti-government. And so life was hard. So I was that way first. And then when I left Iran, I went to Dubai, and then coming to Canada, now I have hope. Now I know. But when I came to Canada, I was very angry, really angry. And I thought, I cannot live my life like this. Somehow I should solve the problem, which I went through some of the process. And to be honest, at this stage in my life, which I have shared that with you, to be honest, I have a really good life. I'm not angry at anybody or anything. I don't hate anybody. Life is good. And life has been getting better and better. And in honesty, since I have started to focus more on this podcast, life even has got better. So this is where I'm going with this. Do I have my problems, my own problems? For sure I do. Actually, right now, as I speak, there is something that is really bothering me, but I'm not going to share that right now. Mm-hmm. But because of the way of thinking, I can, basically handle the situation a lot better and in a much healthier way. And I'm hoping, that people, as they listen, if you learn the process of thinking, and I'm going to be very careful again, repeat this one. We have to learn the process of thinking. If you have a proper process of thinking, then you can handle things. I have said this several times as a example. If we come and sit here, you're a plumber, I'm a physio, and say that let's make a spaceship, a really nice spaceship. We'll just go, beat this Elon Musk ass. If we come up with that, and we are going to think hard about it, we are going to really think. What am I thinking? I don't have that process of thinking. Of course, I went to an extreme, but now if I want to come and say that even if I want to do plumbing, I'm not a plumber. I can think as hard as I want to, So you have to have a process of thinking. But for you as a plumber, if you are introduced to a new problem or situation, you have a process of thinking.
Right.
So that how I'm going to think. For myself, and as a physio, when I have a patient, what do? I ask a series of questions, and based on the answers, again, I deviate my questions. So that's a process of thinking. So right. This is what I'm saying, that by listening to this podcast, that process, I'm hoping that we'll establish it. And then regardless of we speak about the topic that bothers you in life or not, regardless, because you learn the process, you can apply it and it will work. So remember, when you go to university, they don't teach you how to fix a problem. They teach you how to fix any problem. Is that problem solving? Is that not just one problem at a time, because they keep changing? Mm-hmm. There are lots of things happening that you cannot just go one by one, address them. But if you learn the structure behind it, that how to think, then right. Anything happens, you can come up with a method. Your method may not be the best, but it's better than not knowing.
Right.
So that is...
that's funny. That's what my high school shop teacher used to say. And that's what he said. That's why he said that that industrial arts is the best thing to be in, because it's problem solving.
Yes.
He said you don't need those stupid math problems. You need real life problems.
Unless you want to just be a mathematician or something.
Well, yeah, but who wants to do that?
Yeah, I know. But believe it or not, once I took a training personally, that this training was just like the guy had a manual. It was a private private teaching that I got. I paid him a little bit extra, and then I was really getting irritated by him because it was like 8 pages, and on each page 2 questions. And then, for example, the first question was, "What is the most challenging thing that you have running your business?" He asked me. Then I said, "Well, this. He said, no. I asked, what is the most? And the most is 1. Then, I mentioned which one. Then, so what is the second most? So then I did that. And he asked those. Then he said, so how are you going to address the most challenging problem that you have as business? I said, I thought you're going to tell me.
Yeah, right?
I'm paying you, for God's sake.
Yeah.
He said, look, I don't know your business. I don't know the details of it. You do. Mm-hmm. Let us see if you can solve it. And to be honest, for the first 2 days, I was really a little bit frustrated. But then that was one of the best courses I ever took, because really he set me up with a tool to handle things. And I learned that the things that I don't know, now where I can go find them. And not that I knew all the answers by any means, but I knew, okay, what I don't know and what I know. And then if I don't know, where to go for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it really gave me that power. That was one of the best courses that I ever took. So I'm hoping with this would be something like that. And it's going to be fun. Of course, I should tell you, he charged me a lot. And it was not as much fun. Hopefully this will be fun. But one thing that Norman said, that to objectify, for example, is this working? Is the podcast that you are doing, if you listen to it and you follow over a few months, is it going to change? I would say, one thing that you do me a favor and do yourself a favor. If you can go on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being the worst, 10 is the best, 5 being average. For example, a scale that you level up, let's say happiness, or how good you're in control of your finances, or how well do you sleep, or how good your relationship is. Just give yourself a number. You can do that with any issue that bothers you: anxiety, depression, anger, frustration, anything. Just
so before you see the podcast come up on your feed and you see the topic, give it a number and then listen.
No, actually, this is what I'm saying right now, after this topic, after this podcast. If you can go and give yourself a number for all of these things, for the things that they bother you really the most, on a scale of 0 to 10 right now, and write it down. And don't think, I'm going to remember this thing. No, you don't. And we forget. That is why we write. So write those things down. For example, as your level of happiness, anxiety, depression, financial control, that, how well you sleep, relationship, anger, frustration. Or write the number of people that you hate or wish ill. As well, the number of people that you love. If you can write these things down and keep it, and in a few months after listening to this podcast and really exercising some of the questions that I'm going to be asking, then you exercise that, then go back again and do it one more time to see what has happened. But it's going to happen over a few months. So if somebody in future is going to be watching and listening to the podcast and goes and listens to all of them within 2 days, no, nothing will happen. We know that. Yeah. But it's a matter of doing it one at a time and practicing it and make it fun. And it will be fun. Just a little bit push out of your, because some of the stuff that I'm going to bring up probably will be a bit uncomfortable, but push it a little bit. Get yourself a bit uncomfortable and then, see what happens. At the end, I would like to finish this. Normally I say, process of change is like this. First of all, you agree with it logically. Then you talk about it. So you talk about the change, but you're not doing it. Myself, there are lots of things that I'm saying in here, but I'm not necessarily following them. So if you catch me saying but not doing, don't be alarmed.
Yeah, it's because you're working on it.
I am working on it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then, so first you accept logically. If you agree, then you talk about it and promote the behavior. Then afterwards you start to apply it. But when you want to apply it, you force yourself into it. It's a conscious effort that you put in to do it this way, which is the most uncomfortable way because we are normally oriented towards doing something. I think the battery on that thing is dying. Or the camera is gone. But that's okay. We are going to basically do that when we go, basically we force ourselves to take it out of our comfort zone and we talk about it, or we start to do this new change. And then after you do that a few times, then it becomes you. So the process of change is logic, talk, conscious effort, then change. Just imagine if you want to go driving, what do you do? First, you agree that you need to follow the rules.
Yeah.
The second thing is that you talk about it, that, behind the stop sign, I'm going to stop. Behind the red light, I'm going to stop. Then I'm going to go this speed. You agree with those things. Then you make a conscious effort to drive. But yet you can make mistakes.
Yeah.
But after some time you have driven, then it's just you.
Yeah.
So basically, and I'm hoping the process of change that we are going to be going through it would be something like this, and it's going to make it more fun, hopefully. And then I'm looking for feedbacks again, and hopefully the ways that we can improve. And if there are any topics that you want me to talk about that we may not be among some of the things that I'm going to be saying, I would love to hear. And one of the best ways to get a hold of me would be through email, that you can send it to info@lifeworkshop.ca. And of course, to avoid missing any of these episodes, you know what to do. Subscribe and like me and share it. Okay.
All right. Well, I look forward to hearing about these topics.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Yeah. Talk to you soon. Okay. Bye-bye.